digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Tiptoe around with face of a stranger. Quiet observer, never get too close. I see the world, but it's through this window. Another side to see, I'm ready to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. He's from the city, she's from the south. Two different chapters told miles out. The back row living in his White House. So many stories that I need to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. So many stories right in front of me. Some people climb to heights I've never seen. Too many falling down off their feet. These stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Tiptoe around with face of a stranger. Quiet observer, never get too close. I see the world, but it's through this window. Another side to see, I'm ready to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. Some people climb to heights I've never seen. Too many falling down off their feet. These stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Tiptoe around with face of a stranger. Quiet observer, never get too close. I see the world, but it's through this window. Another side to see, I'm ready to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. He's from the city, she's from the south. Two different chapters told miles out. Their back row living in his White House. So many stories that I need to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. So many stories right in front of me. Some people climb to heights I've never seen. Too many falling down off their feet. These stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Tiptoe around with face of a stranger. Quiet observer, never get too close. I see the world, but it's through this window. Another side to see, I'm ready to know.
podcast and the stream, and all fans and creators are welcome. And I'd like to say that we are joined tonight by some other creators from Silverline, and I'd like them to introduce themselves before I set the table on content. We are first joined by Barbara Kelberg. Barbara, would you like to do a little self introduction for everyone?
Ah, I like walks in the park and no. uh, I have been an inker for 30 plus years. Worked for everybody and their dog, including DC and Marvel.
Mhm.
Um, and currently I am working here for Silverline. I'm also the CFO for Silverline. I am, at the moment, I'm inking issue number 4 of Cat and Mouse. I am also the creator, let me think, the creator, co-writer, inker, and colorist for Divinity, the award-winning Divinity, and I'm
Absolutely.
also coloring uh, Sirens, which is a remix of an old 90s black and white graphic novel that we are coloring in and bringing them back.
Fantastic. Fantastic. We're also joined by the colorful Jeremy Kahn. And Jeremy, would you like to tell everyone what you do for Silverline?
I work as a colorist for them, and
Oh,
right now I'm working on. I finally finished up the Cray recoloring, so now I'm working on the 4 covers for the Cray series. I've been with the first cover, and now we're on the second. So that should be hopefully soon.
fantastic. Fantastic. And before I set the table on content tonight, I want to first of all thank our producer, Carlos, who makes the show possible with his technical expertise. We appreciate his skill set. And also, we'd like to thank our important sponsors, the Daytona Beach Comic Convention this year, September 18th and 19th, as well as History Camp. History Camp is a project of the nonprofit Pursuit of History. They offer weekly interviews with history authors, which can be viewed every Thursday on their website, historycamp.org. You can sign up for emails to learn more about the weekly interviews as well as History Camp America at the previously mentioned historycamp.org. Okay, tonight's subject is comic book covers. And what I'd like to explore tonight is not only how we go about creating our covers from our own individual creative approaches, but also what makes a good cover. We'll review some signature tentpole covers from the past and also talk about what makes them work and maybe some that didn't work as well or that didn't stick in our memory and the reasons for that and what we can learn from those successes to apply to our own Silverline content. So as we get started tonight, that's going to be the first hour, and as we get closer to the end of that first hour, I'll do some teasing about what the second part of the show is going to cover. We usually like to cover pop culture rumors, and boy, we've got some juicy gossip tonight. For those of you out there who are fans of Indiana Jones and Star Wars and The Mandalorian, we've got some updates from some insider connections that I have that we hope are true and that we are taking with a generous helping of salt. But back to the first segment, let's talk about covers. What I'd like to do is, as we talk about each one, maybe bring them up visually so people can look at them as we bring them up. We might as well start at the early days. There was a little book called Action Comics, which featured Superman. Some of you out there who are collectors probably can give us an idea if you'd like to comment on how much number one goes for. I know that some people paid a pretty penny for Action Comics number one.
One dollar.
What's that, Jeremy?
$1.
$1. Okay.
That's one where he's throwing the car, right?
Yeah, right. That's where he's throwing the car. We
And
actually have a sample of that. What I love about this cover, and it'll come up here in a second, but what I love about this cover, for those of you who remember it, Barbara brought it up. He's holding a car, and in the foreground you see one of the bystanders incredulously grabbing his head as if, oh my gosh, what's happening? Running into four. I always thought that was kind of charming, but it looks like Superman's smashing up the car. We presume the bad guys were driving the car, but I'd like to get you guys' take on the cover. It's early on, so it's a different generation. It's going to have a vintage feel to it, but Barb, what's your take on this cover? Does it work? Doesn't it work? Why? And
I think it works very well. And here's, for one thing, you said it was vintage, and yes, if you were looking at a current comic book and you saw a character lifting a car, it would be a big deal.
Mhm.
But you have to take into account when this was published, and lifting a car was very, very dramatic back then. The way that it is presented, you've got the rounded top there, so you've got it kind of framed,
Yes.
and then the
Yes.
bright yellow background to highlight the green car and the red cape. Now, the red cape really, really pops on that yellow background.
Oh yeah.
So between the framing and the colors, I think it's a very successful cover, and it's very dramatic for that time period.
I agree. Jeremy, give us your colorist critique on this particular cover.
Well, first, in addition to what you're saying about the circle, if you notice also the car and Superman form an arrow pointing in the direction you would turn the comic to open as well.
Oh,
Very good call. Very good call. As a graphic designer by trade in my early years, we were always told to lead the eye, and this certainly leads the eye by its design to reach over and actually open the cover.
Yeah.
So very successful. What about the color palette? Any?
I mean, obviously you have the yellow and the red, which are good. One of the big things is yellow always stands out.
Yes.
And in order for that, in order to have a color that that complements it, or have a color that works with it, you need something that is bright but is an opposite end, which would be red in this case.
Very nice.
And obviously the green also is in that spectrum where again, it's not next to yellow, but it's an area where it stands out due to that distance.
Yeah, yellow and green
not as much. So
very good.
Yeah,
very
yellow
good.
and green complements, I believe.
Yes. I think it works. I think a successful cover. It's a legendary cover. So what can we learn from this? I categorize this as an action cover. My only critique, and again, this is just coming from a modern day approach, a 21st century, looking back at it approach. I think the main character is a little small, but seeing as you have to have the car in the shot, right? And an editor would say to me, if I presented a similar drawing, where are they? Are they in the middle of a desert? Why aren't they in a city? Where's Metropolis? What's going? So I'm just throwing out what an editor would have beat me up for if I'd done this cover. But overall, excellent cover, inspiring. What I feel like we learned from it is action covers work, especially if they're colored well, designed well, and lead the eye to make you open the book.
I took I was in advertising design for a very, very short time in college before I dropped out.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that always stuck in my head was one of the lessons that they taught was that if everything was about leading the eye.
Yes.
And as long as you could lead the eye, you could capture somebody's attention. And the example that they gave was if you had a great big huge red arrow, bright red arrow, and it pointed to something, people are going to walk over to see what it's pointing at. Even if it's just a little blurb this big, if it has a big arrow, they're going to come over and look at it.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of catching somebody's attention, is to lead them to look at what you want them. And as you said, the car is actually pointing to the edge of the book.
Yeah.
On that.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. We're going to move on now to another famous vintage cover because I want to get as many of these in as we can and see what we can learn from them. I want to move to Detective Comics. We're not going to stay with just one company here. We are going to move on to the others. But just to start out with some of the classic characters here. As we know, as most folks know, Detective Comics in 1939 gave us Batman on the cover. And this one is also kind of interesting. It'll come up here in a moment. But it's kind of interesting because what you'll see is the environment is, again, a sort of nondescript, almost theatrical backdrop setting. There's hierarchy of size, which for those of you who are in design understand what that means, where the size of some of the elements does not necessarily fit proportionally into the setting itself. In this particular case, Batman is a giant and is almost used as a backdrop. And then there's some interesting action going on in the foreground as well. The color choices, it's going to be interesting. There we are. It's going to be interesting to see or hear Jeremy's critique on this as well. But what I take from this is it looks definitely, early 20th century, influenced by the Dracula mythology a lot. You have a nondescript castle, which obviously, is Wayne Manor, I guess, or maybe that's the villain's castle, because the villain tends to looks like he's running up the mountain towards it. Maybe it's a villain's castle, and of course the damsel in distress, and then we have the giant looming Batman with particularly large ears in this case. Graphically, it works because it catches your eye. Batman stands out as a dominant figure. As your eye wanders around, you see, the villainy going on in the bottom left corner. And then again, the way the landscape is structured, we are led to open the book. Again, this is a more what I call a theatrically posed cover rather than an action cover. We're going to touch base a little bit later on more of that as far as matching the content of the character. I think a posed cover fits Batman's, gloomy character quite a bit. So your thoughts, Barbara, give us your thoughts on this cover.
I'm not particularly completely thrilled with the muted colors on this, but then again, you also have to remember the time period. They didn't have the vibrant type of colors that we have now. But I can definitely notice right off the bat that we've got a pyramid set up in this, where the Batman's head points up to the Detective Comics, and his shoulders and cape flare out to encompass the action at the bottom. So again, it's leading the person's or the consumer's eye up to Detective Comics, and at the base of the pyramid, we're seeing pretty much what to expect if you open up the book.
Good call. Good call. Jeremy, give us a colorist critique on this particular cover.
Well, it's interesting because the page actually divided. You have the red, earthy color on the bottom, but then it goes to yellow for the moon behind it. But the interesting part is Batman himself, as his design, blends into the night sky with that flesh color mouth or face showing through right in the center. So basically, your eye is drawn, from one to the next. Basically, your eye is drawn to the ground, then goes to the moon, and then to his face. Then once you're around there, you're automatically directed up to the logo for Detective Comics.
And it's interesting. We were advised both by art teachers and editors, be careful with circles, and because they can draw the eye too much away from the elements that you want to see. But in this case,
well, I think the price works. No, because there's good. The price circle, there's a nice counterbalance to that.
Correct. And I think overall too, if we want to talk conceptually about content, action comics that we previously covered, action scene. Detective comics, a more brooding, theatrically posed scene. So again, what can we learn from this to apply? I would say if you're designing one of your covers, think about the characters you have and the overall tone of the book. If it's a brooding mystery thriller, a post cover may be something you want to try first. You may want to go against type and do something completely opposite for your own artistic reasons, and that's totally cool too. But there's always a foundation to start with there. So I think overall a powerful cover. I mean, obviously, Batman, one of the most popular comic book characters of all time. Interesting how the size of Batman's ears evolved to the point where they're almost non-existent during the late '80s with Miller's sort of more brutish, thuggish approach to Batman, rather than Neil Adams' more elegant martial artist with tall ears approach. But it's interesting to see, how he started. You guys are tall ear fans or short ear fans? Just to throw that out there. Barb,
Short ear fans.
short ear. Jeremy,
Short.
short. Okay, I'm in the minority here. I like the tall ears. It's weird. Okay, so as we're going to move on, we're gonna move into a little more modern era here with the late '60s. I want to set the table here with everyone's favorite wall crawler, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, which will be coming up here in a few moments. But this cover is probably one of the most famous posed covers. And before you see it, when I say the phrase "Spider-Man No More," you probably know either from your memory or from seeing it in the store or in a collection what it is. But before we go there and talk about it in detail, I not only want to talk about it conceptually, I want to talk about it graphically, and I want to talk about it in terms of the line work. And it's up on the screen for everybody to see now. And I want to make a couple of observations before I turn it over to my co-hosts here. I absolutely love the fact that you have the emotional content of the title of this particular story perfectly illustrated. Peter Parker is considering giving up Spider-Man because, darn it, it's just too much complication with his personal life. I like the directional lines. I also love the fact that the color is not the typical Spidey suit color. It's monochromatic. And that's interesting to me. I think my guess, and the more color-minded folks in the room can illuminate this for me and educate me on this, but I would imagine that is so that we focus more on Peter Parker in street clothes rather than Spidey, because his suit's awfully bright when accurately colored, and it might detract from the dejected look of our hero, who's walking with head hung low and obviously considering quitting Spider-Man. So, Barbara, your thoughts?
Well, as you said, the colors are so dynamic. And, we went back to the detective one here. The colors are extremely dynamic, and all of the directional lines point down to the dejected Peter Parker. Even the pose in the background of Spider-Man with the wide shoulders and the slender hips also pull your eye down to Peter Parker walking away from it. And the contrast between the warm glow of the red and the cool blue of the suit is very much so dynamic. This is a really, really well done cover. And you notice there's not anything in the background to distract your eye from what the main focus is, which is Peter Parker dejectedly walking away.
Yes, I agree. Jeremy, your thoughts?
Well, my way I'm seeing this is Um, Basically, that background there is the sunset, with the warm yellows and reds. And the idea is sun setting. It's the end of the day. In this case, it's the end of him as Spider-Man. So basically, it's a metaphor there that the colors go ahead and they tell a story in addition to the imagery.
That's brilliant. Until you said that, I didn't think of that, but no, that's a brilliant observation. It is the sunset of
Yeah, the
Spider-Man.
shadow.
Yeah.
That's a really good observation too. I didn't think about that because the shadow stretches out in front of Peter Parker
Yes,
as well.
yes, indeed. And the classic Spider-Man look. It's kind of refreshing to see the Spidey suit, illustrated that way from I believe it's Ramita in this case. But really a beautiful cover. What can we learn from this cover for folks? What I take from this is it's very important if you're writing a particular story that is a powerful turning point for the character, a dramatic issue being resolved or unresolved, a death or some tragic event. It really helps to turn it into iconography conceptually. The word iconic really summarizes the cover. It's one of the most iconic covers of all time for me anyway. So A+ on this. If you're doing a story that has a heavy dramatic tone, even a romance, if there's a breakup, death of a main character, impending death of a main character, something like that, this is a great cover to study for anyone. You guys have any further comments on the Spider-Man No More?
Well, also, his majority of the page is yellow and red. It's going to grab attention on a shelf on our thinner wrap.
Yes.
That color really stands out, and the majority of the cover is that.
Absolutely. We're going to, as we move forward, I'm going to get away from Marvel and DC for a moment, and I want to talk about an image cover that is for Monstrous. Now, this is a fantasy book, and I am impressed by this cover because there's a lot to talk about here in terms of tone, atmosphere. When you're dealing with fantasy storytelling, atmosphere is everything because primarily you're world building, and as when this cover comes up, it'll become more evident for you. But there are spiritual tones in the cover. The color choices are perfect. The elements that the artist uses here are perfect. There's elements of danger. There's elements of fantasy. But primarily, you, even if you know nothing about the book, and I admittedly, I don't read Monstrous, but when I came onto this cover and just really looked at it, I said, this is powerful. Again, it pulls me in because I enjoy fantasy and I would be willing to try it just looking at this cover. The color choices, again, the spectral nature of these fox spirits, and then also the tentacles that we see in the lower part of the illustration. It's powerful, but in a more ethereal way, an atmospheric way, which is very common for fantasy. Barb, what are your thoughts on Monstrous?
Well, I agree with everything that you're saying. The placement of the ghost foxes or whatever they are,
Mm-hmm.
all circle around the main character and the heads point to her.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at her. She's a central focus, and the color scheme is very subtle and eye-catching simply because it's got a good a good mesh of colors and earth tones and cool tones. And you're right, the tentacles, I'm trying to look at it here on my laptop and talk at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But the tentacles at the bottom are actually fascinating. They're just slightly hidden by the title, but I would definitely pick this up because, like you, I am a huge fantasy fan, and this piques my interest right off the bat.
Same here. What are your thoughts, Jeremy?
Well, like with most genres, there's usually a specific color palette you normally associate with them. With fantasy, obviously you have the more natural, like earthy type colors. This one is like you were saying, the central focus is the character in the middle there, but the the blue and whites basically create like a negative space that the character is sitting within. Thus, it stands out more as a result. So you have that becomes more the focus for the image.
Yeah, I see that. And also, there's a sense of spectral lighting here, as a testament to the brilliance of the illustrator. It's brilliant cover. For those of you out there at Silverline, and those of you listening or creating your own fantasy characters, again, study covers like this and understand that texture here is also, if you look in the background beyond the spectral foxes, and you can see there's texture there that's almost hieroglyphic, or it's almost like a carpet, a Persian carpet, or it's fantastic. Again, you get the sense that this is a richly interwoven story inside a richly crafted, comprehensive world that has its own inhabitants and languages and cultures and colors and relationships. Excellent work and inspiring. Anyone have any other commentary on Monstrous? Okay,
go ahead, make it full screen.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. We're gonna go on here to another image title, and we're gonna talk about Spawn next, because it's the complete opposite in terms of color palette and content in many ways, although it is.
We lose him?
Yeah. This happened last time too. If you guys happen to see me looking down a lot, I'm following. We're in a tornado watch here. So
Jeremy, that's Barbara. This is the Jeremy Barbara show.
Well, last week it just was the Barbara show, so at least I have some help this time.
So I'm thinking of a name.
Jeremy Kahn.
Oh shoot! Okay.
What was your favorite cover that you've ever done?
I've worked on.
Yeah.
Honestly, I prefer the one. I know it's be self-promotion thing, but I like the cover I did for my own comic.
Well, there you go. That's because you set it up exactly the way you want to.
Oh yes. Actually, I can find it somewhere.
I have a couple from the 90s that I absolutely adore. And actually, I have them down here. One of them is Primal Force. I love this cover. Just because, as you can see, the center character is holding the symbol for the ley lines, and they're all in a very clustered pattern. I thought it was very well set up. I did all 13 issues or was it 17 issues of that? And then the other one that I really liked, let me see if I can find it here. That was Ken Hooper that did the pencils on that one. And this was Jeff Johnson that did Solitaire. I did all the issues of that too. And this cover, I don't know, there was just something really cool about this cover with him jumping down off of the roof and guns blazing.
The light pattern because it leads you straight down to the corner there.
Mm-hmm.
It's really well done.
Yep, where you open the book. That's right.
Okay.
How long? Yeah.
I'm still there. I'm just trying to grab something.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. That was one I did recently.
Oh yeah, that's sweet. Is that a children's book?
Yes.
And you kept the
Yeah.
colors pastel and friendly. I
Yes.
noticed because it's a
Now,
children's book.
one of the big notes I kept getting from the publisher, because apparently a lot of stuff I was doing for them, I was doing too muted. Because last time I was referencing, like I was doing the Casper stuff, I was referencing the old comics, the old cartoons, which are very muted. And had to
Hmm.
get those, no, up to saturation, up to saturation.
Actually, I like a muted color palette when I'm coloring. I mean, I I try to keep a more muted palette and then save the dramatic colors for the dramatic scenes. So if I want to punch it up in the midst of a big fight scene, then I bring out the big guns and the bright colors. But I have a tendency to keep my color palettes fairly muted. I don't know. I just like it that way. That's just my style.
I guess mostly with kids comics, you have to keep it more saturated. But with other, you're saying with the other non-kids ones,
Hmm.
muted is a little better to go with.
Yes, and I also use mood boards. So if I have 3 pages and it's all taking place in one place, I will find a photo or a previous piece of artwork that I love the color palette. And I will use that as a mood board and keep the colors consistent throughout the entire scene.
My do something similar. What I do is like for the a crate one I'm doing, I have the almost the entire run of Tarzan from Marvel.
Well,
So
there's
basically,
Spawn.
so I
Spawn
would
is
do
up.
is it's back there again. Well, okay, so what I do is I take it into Photoshop, and then you basically break down the entire image into an actual color palette. So as a result, you get the entire color scheme for the page. So basically, find pages or illustrations that match the type of story you're trying to tell, and you get a good idea of color wise what to go for.
All right, the Spawn cover is up, and I got to tell you, I'm not fond of it. Can you see it?
Oh, there we go. Yes, it took me a while. I finally figured out how to make the thing full screen.
Yeah, well, I've got Facebook pulled up on my other tab so that I can see the actual feed. Um, and this is just a little bit overwhelming for me. It's a lot going on here.
I mean, honestly, I do like it. Just the neon green is what's
Yeah.
that's like the only thing that's sort of. Also, you can tell that this was done. It doesn't look like it was done digitally or something because if you look at the gradation on the back, it's very what's the word? Basically, you can see different sections of the gradation.
Oh,
So
good.
it's not a smooth gradation there. That usually happens with when they're first doing digital coloring.
I never noticed that. What is your impression of the color palette?
I mean, honestly, it will definitely stand out on a comic shelf.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it jumps out and bites you. I just think
Yep.
it's a little. Well, for one thing, Spawn himself, he kind of gets hidden. Can't.
But
I mean, his face is overwhelmed by all the colors.
isn't it kind of the point of Spawn though? That he usually is not really up front and center. He usually is hidden in shadows and so forth.
Yeah. If they're going for pure visual impact, they've hit the mark because that is a one bright cover.
Yes.
And it definitely does reach out and bite you.
And it definitely does lend itself to an animated series.
How about the composition of the cover? What do you think of that? Getting away from the colors and just
Yeah,
talking.
actually, because it is somewhat confusing, but I do see the logic in it. Like you do see, some of the circles or spirals going on, but it's just sort of some of it that is sort of competing with one another. The shapes.
Yeah, it's a little busy.
Um, I mean, you can see the spirals of the cape going like coming from the right side. Of course, my right was the left. The right side goes down towards the head. You get the spiral there. Then
Yep.
down from the arm, reaching down where the green is, and it goes back up again, following the bottom part of the cape. You do get a couple circles and spirals in there.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of a whirlpool effect,
Yeah.
which is cool. in its own way. I suppose, oh, there he is. He's back.
I'm back.
We were talking about the Spawn cover being
Ah,
very, very, very bright.
yes, yes, indeed. Powerful, again, fantasy superhero rather than epic fantasy. But again, impossible costume, which works because it's so extreme that it's unforgettable. But what were you guys? Did you guys cover all the just sort of the power of the color palette
Yeah, I
here?
thought
And
it was a little bit overwhelming. I
yeah,
mean, but if the object was to get it to pop on the newsstand, they had very much achieved their goal.
oh, absolutely,
And I was talking about that bat, how the gradation is not quite smooth.
right, right, and yeah, powerful palette there. I would say for those of you who are creating uh, just the epic superhero fantasy, Spawn is good to study in terms of, you know, trust your instincts and go for it. And if you want to make the cape bigger, make it even bigger than that because it's impossible. But
One
again,
thing,
very very memorable cover. What were you going to say,
I'm
Jeremy?
sorry, one of the things I was going to mention was, yeah, the bright saturated colors for the character and everything. But then the logo and then the image, icon there, those are all muted. Those
Yes,
actually the character is, foremost in the image, while the logo in the image section is actually the secondary part of the image.
good call. Good call. I want to move from this, uh, but before I do, one last comment I want to make is, you notice that it's kind of a blend of an action cover and a dramatic pose cover because it's not as if Spawn is actually doing anything. He's kind of posed but firing up his supernatural power with his hand. But in essence, it's more of a brooding pose.
Pure
Um,
image, basically.
yeah, yeah, pure image. Um, I want to set the stage for the next one, which we're going to be talking about Elektra, and go back to Marvel for a bit. This Elektra cover we're going to be talking about is very unique. It caught my eye because the design was almost what I like to call optical illusion style. There are a lot of situations where if you have a particular story or a need for the cover to stand out, we always need that. But if you need it to stand out in a specific way, not necessarily for the character, but for the story that you're wanting to tell. And this particular cover design fully illustrates the need that in this case, the Elektra story, there it is. The story obviously had to do with the character being overwhelmed by the numbers of a superior army. It looks like the hand has got her surrounded, and she's a target. Visually, a target is made here. And I find these covers to be memorable, but, like any stunt, you have to be careful. You have to use them wisely, and only when necessary, they're more memorable because, it's you have to place it well, like humor in a action adventure. You have to know where to place it and how often to use it. But I think in this case it worked. Barb, what are your thoughts on this Elektra cover?
I love it. I love it. I mean, yeah, like you said, it's basically a target and it's all monochromatic
Mm-hmm.
until you get to her in the bright red outfit in the middle, which makes it pop.
Yes,
And it works I think it works in every way possible.
I agree. Let's talk about color with our color expert,
Yes.
Jeremy.
Well, I mean, I think you already mentioned the majority of it. The bullseye part and everything. But I would maybe like to see it on not the image itself, but the part, the bottom part with the marble and everything. Maybe have that like a black instead of red. To just
Good
have
call.
Electra be the only red part on the page on the cover. Then,
Yeah, it would have been interesting to have either that band be, maybe black so
yeah,
that it doesn't draw the eye. so much. What
Sure.
That's one thing we can learn from this is that, for the graphic designers who are putting together the business side of the framework graphically of the covers, it's important to pay attention to, we don't want to distract from the content of the cover with
Or
our
detract.
graphics, you know.
Yeah, or
Uh,
detract. I think he's right in the fact that the whoever put the publishing side of that together, the business side of it together, kind of wasn't paying as much as attention as they should have. They should have thought about that. The cover itself works remarkably well,
it
but
does. It does.
whoever designed the color and colored the cover, it works exceptionally well. The promotional part of it, not quite so well.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So overall, powerful cover, the target effect. You can imagine in the days of going into a physical brick and mortar store and seeing that from across the room, I would walk up to it just to see what is that, you know. So definitely, it accomplishes its goal. Um, for the next cover, I want to stay with Marvel for a while. We're going to talk about X-Men. When you have team books, in this case, we're going to be talking about the giant size X-Men #1, and in this case, giant size meant just the page count. It's interesting to see how the artists are challenged with so many characters, and we all know the X-Men. They talk about a stable. I mean, it's a gigantic roster of characters, and other than George Perez, who I think could draw just anything with massive amounts of people and make it work, it's always a challenge for there we are the artist when faced with teams. Which characters to put in the foreground, which to put in the background. Conceptually, what is the storyline concerning, and how does that play into which characters to focus on? In this case, it looks like you have one set of X-Men bursting through. We're implying that they're bursting through the paper of the cover with the original X-Men, in the background looking on in shock. If you look up at Jean Grey on the upper right under the word X-Men, she's, she's aghast. That's what's happening. But it's kind of a fun, classic cover from way back in the 70s. And I think they solved it pretty well. This would jump off the page and attract attention. Barbara, what are your thoughts on giant size X-Men?
It's a good thing that they put the background in monochrome.
Yeah.
Because if they had not done that, it would be way, way too confusing and busy.
Yeah.
So they put the muted tones in the background and the vibrant colors in the forefront to pop. So I think that works.
That works, and in this case, just to touch on what Jeremy observed earlier, in this case, the color band identifying the publisher at the top is more the muted color, so it doesn't interfere. Jeremy, what are your thoughts on this giant size X-Men splashy cover?
First thing I want to point out, I think it's kind of funny how Cyclops is on the top and bottom.
Yeah.
The mini Cyclops is popping out of his chest there.
Yeah, it's kind of okay. He's like Wolverine in those days. He's in every book. He's in every roster.
Yeah, I know. Well, what I never like is the frame. Is the yellow from the page fold or rip, and the yellow obviously contrasts the blue. From the characters. So you have this nice separation between the cast for the comic and the cast that they're busy, I guess, alien chest bursting out of.
yeah, and this is actually pre-Alien, but yeah, it works very well. It's implied to the casual viewer that wow, we've got new X-Men, and the old classic X-Men there are just kind of left behind, except for Cyclops who's joining in, and of course here we have, Wolvie. I guess this is the beginning of him, dominating all X-Men all the time. It's all about Wolverine. Kind of cool Storm cape wings there, which are kind of neat. You got Nightcrawler, and it's cool. It's a nice cover. But what can we learn from this? If you're doing a new roster, replacing an old roster, and you're required by editorial or by your own decision to include both teams, make use of color to separate the old from the new, and go vibrant where you want the eye to go. So good job on that cover.
Yeah, they even did color holds on the blacks, the black areas on the old team. And I just noticed, I don't know if this was done on purpose or not, but uh, the red leg here is right smack in the middle of the page, so it doesn't distract from either side. It's right down the center, and it's a pop of color right down in the center of the page. If you would have been off to one side and they had that red leg, your eye would have automatically been drawn to the side and not to the center of the page.
Excellent. Yeah,
And
excellent.
then the other interesting part also is where it says first issue, first is in yellow, which really stands out there. Like they're really pushing that.
Mm-hmm.
They are indeed. And for those watching here, one of the lessons, color is so important for leading the eye, as important as design. And I give full props to people who are gifted with color. I am not, but I understand when it works and when it doesn't work. And I try to solve whatever illustrative puzzle I'm solving in black and white first. I was always taught, if it works in black and white, it'll work in color. But boy, if you choose the wrong colors, you can bury something. So you folks that are gifted with color talent, my hat's off to you. We're going to stay with Marvel for the next cover. I want to talk about the Mighty Thor. There's a great Walt Simonson cover that I want to take a look at in detail. And conceptually, when a new character makes an appearance that supplants or temporarily replaces your leading character, the title character, how to approach that. And I think Simonson does one of the best jobs of literally smashing through the status quo in this case. I don't know if you guys remember this cover, but you're about to see it. Beta Ray Bill, the alien, challenges Thor's role as the wielder of Mjolnir and the Hammer of Thor. And we get all of this impact in this Thor cover. And what I want to talk about in terms of concept is when you have something as dramatic as that Spider-Man cover that we spoke of earlier, where he's turning his back to the viewer and we see the sunset of Spider-Man, and then we see Peter Parker dejected and so on. The dramatic impact of that is powerful in a subtle, brooding way. The one we're about to cover now is impact in a traditional, bombastic way that can only be done in a Thor book. It's excellent. It's memorable. I think, again, it functions like you'll see here in a second, like the Spawn cover in terms of its posed and its action at the same time. What we have, I'll start to describe it before it comes up, but we have Beta Ray Bill dressed very Thor-like, but with the obvious alien face. So from walking up to it that this isn't Thor, but you're stunned by the fact that he's wielding the hammer. But what's happened is that he is literally smashing through the title of the book. So the brilliance of it is you're breaking the fourth wall, so to speak, and smashing through the title of the book itself. And you have to be careful with that because we all know about readability and being able to read the title of a comic, from across the room. So if you're going to smash the title of a comic book into pieces, it still has to be recognizable. So for those of you creating a cover, or you're concepting a cover where you want to affect the masthead, which is one of the most important parts of the book you're trying to sell. I'm always told, if you're going to design a masthead, make sure it's readable. Well, what if you want to break it up? What if you want to smash it into pieces? Do you?
Carlos says he doesn't have that one.
Oh, he doesn't have this one. Okay, I will take care of that. Carlos, I will. You will have that very, very soon. What do you guys feel about manipulating the title of a comic book and changing the standard of it? What do you think that's worth doing?
As long as you can still recognize it in some way, shape, or form, I think it can lend itself to being a part of the design of the cover.
I mean, I think if it's not overdone, like you see for certain special occasions, like a good example, I would say, in comics for a second, Paramount. How many times have you seen the statue change? Kapaloo, Wilma in the Flintstone movie. Whenever that happens, it's always special when you see it and really stands out. So just not overdo it, just special
Save
occasions.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
Save it for special occasions when you really want a little bit more extra.
Yes, be judicious and don't destroy the integrity of the readability of that. Well, that will come up here soon. But I also want to ask you guys the other element of this cover that we're going to talk about is there is no background. And what do you guys think about silhouetting the character against a white background? Talk a little bit about how that affects you as you're browsing titles, and whether it works, or do you feel cheated somewhat by that when artists don't put a background at all? Barb, talk about that a little bit.
It depends. It depends on if it's well done or not. Certainly, it's going to be like an all black background. It's going to make you stop and go, "What the heck is going on with this cover?"
Mm-hmm.
You're going to stop and look. But then, if what you're looking at in the center of all that white isn't dynamic, then you're going to go, well, that was kind of lazy, and walk on.
So you guys see it there now, and I think the observations I have, first of all, is very dynamic cover, action and pose, equally important.
Mm-hmm.
But again, in this case, I think the silhouette against white works tremendously well.
Yep.
And
it is dynamic.
Yeah, I can read Thor without a problem at all. Talk a little bit about color in this case, Jeremy.
I mean, it's just the character design, so I'm going to critique the character art.
All of it, yeah, all of it. Like color-wise, like when you get the impact, the full impact of the cover.
The logo itself has a nice, yellow for the sides of the lettering, which helps it stand out much, and also bleeds into the lightning bolt going down. And as it bleeds into the lightning bolt, it then carries down to the yellow of the boots. So you basically have yellow going around the circle in this case. In addition, you also have the blue from the hammer, and again from the outfit as well, and then from the swing of the hammer. So you basically have a circle now of both yellow and blue, with the red cape basically breaking that, to the side. So you have this nice, circle of the two main colors, the red sort of standing out there as well, sort of drawing attention to that, to the action of the hammer breaking the lettering.
I agree. And Barb, what do you think about look to the left, and the iconic, standing character above the price and the number and so on, and it's very pleasant and nostalgic, I think, to look at those things now because they're so often not done anymore.
No.
And I always liked seeing, there's a publisher and there's the character, but in this case, Thor is practically beheaded. He's sliding off to the left.
I know. I get a kick out of the fact that they even broke the little thing, the little icon in the corner.
Yeah,
because the 60 cents is going. It's all
Yeah.
crooked, and
it's off. Yeah, it's off kilter as well.
I think it's cute.
Yeah, I think it's playful. So we have the sense of humor carried through, and I like the fact. I don't know whether obviously it was Simonson, so maybe the weight of his persona alone got the graphic folks to work with him on this. But regardless, whether it was his idea alone or whether it was agreed upon by the publisher to do that, it works very well. And again, the lesson from this is you can play around with the title if you want to. Make sure it's still readable. You can even play around with publisher identification, numeric numbers, and pricing, and even the code. If as long as it's still readable.
Right,
So,
you can bend the rules, just don't break them.
Bend the rules. Almost perfect cover. I want to move on since we're running short on time here. I wanted to touch on another cover that's completely different, and in this case, Swamp Thing. And I want to close the cover hour talking about this particular piece because, again, it's a lot more epic fantasy. It is a quieter piece, and it could almost function as two genres. But those of you who are color-minded really, I think, get a kick out of this piece. For those of you writing and illustrating romance stories, epic fantasy stories, again, don't be afraid to integrate the masthead and or the title into the artwork. And there we have it. It's a moody piece, and I can't wait to hear both of you give your takes on it. I think it works very well for Swamp Thing. Barb, give us your thoughts on Swamp Thing.
Well, you're right in that it's very moody. The ambiance that it brings to it is very somber. You want to know, just looking at it, you want to know why are they so sad?
Yeah.
The incorporation of the Swamp Thing title's done very, very well. It almost disappears, but not quite, because they've brought in some white to plump it up a little bit. They did a good job of even the DC up at the top is muted. Did you notice that? It's not bright white.
Yes.
So the entire cover is very muted and somber, and very, very emotive.
Yes, very
it's
emotive.
Very emotive.
I get the sense of the Beauty and the Beast theme here, and the impossible love affair that can't be for various reasons. And you notice there's a lot of symbolism here with the two butterflies, and then there's the frog in the bottom right. Jeremy, your take as a colorist on this very rich cover. Talk to us about the color usage here.
In general, Swamp Thing cover and artwork itself tends to lean. I guess a good way to play it is like the old paintings and such, like old Victorian type paintings, but very muted, but very artistry and so forth. Last Swamp Thing covers tend to lean towards that, because it's basically trying to emphasize the wonder of nature, the wonder of the world. Well, nature, I guess, the more focus, and those type of colors, more earthy, muted colors, really reflect that theme of Earth. And
talk a little bit, just briefly, because we're wrapping up here on the first hour before we say goodbye to covers. I want you guys to just, in general, your thoughts. Is it more important to capture the attention of a viewer who is looking at a row of covers, or is it more important to stay true conceptually to the content of the book itself, regardless of whether it stands out? I think it's a good question to touch on with Swamp Thing. So as we close out, what's more important, the impact or the integrity to the storyline? Barbara?
Is it too much to ask for both?
It is not.
If
It is
I could,
not. I was waiting for that answer. Jeremy, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to say both because, again, we're talking about putting aside the artistry and how everything. We are talking about covers, and the important part of covers is to grab your attention because you're against all the other covers on the shelf. So you do want something that actually leaves an impact, but at the same time, you really don't want to compromise, the story you're trying to tell in general in the series itself. So, just from a creator point of view, I definitely would want to have some, consistency with the story inside and everything.
I agree.
If you were forcing me to choose one or the other, I would go for the impact. The cat and mouse poster behind you, and that's the same cover as I've got right here.
Ah, yes.
Yes, it doesn't. This is a posed
Right.
piece, but it doesn't necessarily connect, except in a general way, to what was going on inside the book. But it is so dynamic, and it sums everything up right in that particular pose of what you can expect if you open up the book.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
So
That was my intention. There was to give the flavor of the book and blend, like you stated initially, which is what I was waiting for. Was that ideally we want to blend impact with book integrity, and sometimes we go for that 100% every single time. Sometimes we don't. That the Swamp Thing cover might disappear next to the Spawn cover, right?
because
But
I think we came up with this cover before the interiors were done, didn't we?
we did.
So we really didn't know what was going to be in the
Correct.
interiors, but it
Correct.
meshes very, very well.
It does. It does. And that, folks, that wraps up the cover discussion. We want a clear break here and move on to part two. Again, I want to thank the sponsors for us tonight, which is Daytona Beach Comic Convention, being held September 18th and 19th this year in Daytona, and also History Camp. You can sign up for emails to learn more about weekly interviews at historycamp.org, and we do appreciate those sponsors. We have a new guest in the room, Mr. Brent Larson. Welcome, sir. Would you like to introduce yourself to everyone watching before we set the table on our pop culture rumors?
Sure. I'm Brent Larson. I am the creator and writer of the Silverline book Kalis, and the writer-creator of the upcoming Silverline book Cape Town.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
I'm in Orlando, Florida.
Do you want to tease us a little bit about Cape Town? Just give us the little slug line and what can we look forward to?
Sure. It is about a town, or a city rather, in the U.S. where basically superheroes are real. It's kind of looked upon as like cosplay, but everybody does it. And they had legitimate superheroes, and some of them had powers, but then suddenly they all just started to disappear. And for a while there were no heroes, but a couple of superheroes have come back onto the stage, and they are on a quest to find out where all the heroes went.
Excellent.
And that is the upshot of the book.
Excellent. Keep your eyes
That
open,
sounds
folks,
interesting.
for upcoming Cape Town, as well as the award-winning Divinity. And Jeremy, the book you're working on again, remind everyone.
Cray.
Correct.
Cray.
Correct. Now, let's move on to the pop culture rumors, as we are wont to do in the second part of our stream. And tonight I want to touch base with, first of all, with the much rumored problems with Indiana Jones 5. Now, the first problem is I just said Indiana Jones.
Besides the fact that the star is like in his 70s?
Yeah, right.
I don't see any problems. I mean, it'll be a movie where he, hangs out with some friends and watches a lot of daytime TV and probably takes a nap. Roll the credits.
If it just Harrison Ford, even that sounds fun.
Right? Harrison Ford.
Yeah, Harrison Ford could do it.
Do it, man.
So, the couch, we all go, wow.
Of course, I complain constantly about ageism in comics, and here I'm doing the exact same thing.
Same thing.
I know. Not even hypocrite me. I'm sorry.
Naughty girl. Naughty. Okay, so
it's true. It's really tough not to, though, because Sean Connery was younger than Harrison Ford is now by a significant margin when he did Last Crusade. So
excellent
yes.
observation. So specifically, the rumors I'm hearing, unsubstantiated, huge, heaping goblet full of salt here. But the rumor is that there were fireworks between Kathleen Kennedy at Lucasfilm and Steven Spielberg, the creator, co-creator with Lucas, of course, of Indiana Jones and director of the first three films. We sometimes refer to the fourth one as nuking the fridge, but that's for another show that we could rant about a long time. It's fun, but it's got a lot of problems. So the rumor is that there were fireworks and a verbal exchange when Kathleen Kennedy suggested that the movie would revolve around replacing Indiana Jones with a younger female sidekick, to which Spielberg responded not too pleasantly to her, and they just quit speaking after that. And the rumor is that it's I don't know, it's a difficult shoot. It's troubled. Harrison's been injured. They're trying their best to patchwork it all together. But, I mean, guys, what do you think? Barb, throw your ideas out. Do we really want to see, a young hipster take over for Indy, or do we want to send him off into the sunset with dignity? I mean, maybe we do want a young hipster taking the hat and the whip. What do you think?
Remind me. It's been a few years since I've seen number 4. Didn't he have a son in one of those?
Yeah, Shia LaBeouf.
That's it, Shia LaBeouf. That's right.
LaBeouf played Mutt, a character that was dubiously, ambiguously, and not so ambiguously referred to as his kid. It didn't really go over well.
No, but you know what? There's no reason we couldn't bring on a grandson.
Well, sure.
I mean, I still insist the young Indiana Jones approach. Do a kid, have him, or an older teenager or something, just have Harrison Ford and bookend it.
Yeah, let's bring in a hot grandson, and have him go off on an adventure with Grandpa, and I mean,
Barb. What do they do? What do they do? Does the grandson help Grandpa when he stumbles and pull him out of the quicksand?
All right, now I'm gonna walk myself back here, okay? Because I know I was teasing about ageism, but I'm 62. My husband is 68, and he could whoop your ass. I guarantee you. He still does 100 sit-ups, push-ups, 100 push-ups a day.
Good for him.
And a full 2-hour aerobic routine every day. So yeah, I shouldn't throw stones at old Harrison Ford because there are.
He can throw back pretty hard.
Yeah. So and there's always stunt doubles.
Well, sure.
Sure. And if it's an interesting enough story, I don't see why they couldn't have grandpa and grandson having a perfectly wonderful adventure together and allowing Harrison Ford to finally ride off into the sunset at the end and turn the franchise over.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. Anyone else thoughts? Brent, what about you? What are your thoughts on do we pass the torch to a young hipster, or do we just say bye to Indy?
Well, can I just quickly just do an alternative suggestion as well to think about?
Absolutely, Jeremy. Go right ahead, sir.
The James Bond approach. Just replace him. Don't make any mention of it, and just do it that way.
That's another option. Very viable. Brent, what are your thoughts, sir?
Well, okay. Here's my thoughts, and take them for what they're worth. But I disagree with all of you. Man, the main reason is this: Indiana Jones is something very unique, and in fact, he's so unique that even when the people behind the franchise try to steer it in another direction, it blows up in everyone's faces. And this is when Indiana Jones is firing on all cylinders. He's a man who is looking for valuable antiquities, but by doing so, he opens the door to a bigger world that's kind of scary, very mysterious, and very engaging, but also kind of rooted in the history of the world. So when there really was such a thing as an Ark of the Covenant. There probably wasn't such a thing as a Holy Grail, but it's huge in myth and all that stuff. So when they tried to skew away from that, then we got Indiana Jones 4, and people are like, this is crapping all over my childhood. So that's bad. Now, Indiana Jones is a lot different from Bond, because James Bond is a guy who fights he fights bad guys. He's a spy who fights bad guys. That will never go out of style. In fact, it will change with the politics and the era of the time, which makes it able to be revitalized. But you can't really revitalize Indiana Jones. And that's where I think what they need to do, I actually love the idea of the grandkid, because they get the grandkid and they get Indy together, but it's still an Indy movie. And it reveals more of his character, how this purveyor of antiquities, this hunter of the fantastic, how does he actually deal with becoming an antiquity himself? I'm not being ageist. Just think about it, though. He is becoming something that he has hunted all his life.
A legend.
And if he had a grandkid there, that would be a perfect foil to actually investigate what is that like, but not just for him, but for everybody. We're all kind of dealing with the specter of death and the idea that mortality is real, and everybody deals with it on some level. They could actually say something kind of important there in the context of a great, fun story, and then they put it in a box and they sink it in the Atlantic. No more franchise. That's my vote.
Very nice.
To someone else, it's no longer Indiana Jones. And what I think they should do, it's such a drag that they've tried a couple of times with Lara Croft and it never took off. Because Lara Croft is her own person. She's not an Indiana Jones knockoff. She is a genuine character. What they need to do is get her into a movie that's really good and can capture some kind of zeitgeist that Indiana Jones captured, but is not identical, and then take off with her. Or they just start over completely.
I mean, next, they're trying Uncharted, which could potentially be that.
That's true. And Uncharted is fun, and frankly, I'm wondering about the Uncharted movie, because the games are fun. People are going to be watching the movie and going, I could just play the games and it's so much more fun. But anyway, we'll see what happens.
What about a total reboot?
But then you would have, I would genuinely wonder why. Like, here's another example. Die Hard. They tried to do the same thing with Die Hard, right? The last Die Hard movie, they brought in his son. He's a secret agent in Moscow or some nonsense in pyrotechnics. But by then, it's not about John McClane anymore. And it's so far afield, nobody cares.
By what a reboot, I mean, there's more stories to tell in the Indiana Jones universe. So
you have comics for that. You have Fate of Atlantis. Tons of story. I love to see some of that adapted.
So just reboot it with a new Indiana, a young guy.
Okay. They actually talked about having Chris Pratt do that. Do you guys remember that?
I do remember that.
I also remember, Indiana Jones is not actually his real name. Indiana is a alias he brought on.
It's,
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
his
you're right.
dog's name.
So technically, someone else can technically be Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he has a name though. His name's Henry.
Wow.
I don't know that, and you know that at Paramount they're genuinely asking this question back and forth because they do it well. You know, a reboot could be great. You know, maybe they would tell a different kind of story because Indiana Jones is a very specific kind of story, and we love it and we hate it when it goes wrong. So if they were going to reboot it, they would either have to find something new that really resonated. And this is a great question to ask everybody. Has it ever been done before? I'm not sure, but I'm open to challenge on that.
Well,
Has-
they rebooted Battlestar Galactica.
That's an excellent example. Yes, the original was in the '80s. They had all the '80s zeitgeist, and then when they rebooted it, tremendous overhaul of everything except the central character. Right? Okay, so that's a great example.
What about the young Indiana Jones Chronicles that came out in the 90s?
Did you guys ever watch
remember
those?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying because that actually had Harrison Ford in there bookending it.
Yeah.
So
So
you can
you could do it. You could do it. It can be done, but I think Brent's point is well taken that do it well if you're going to do it, or don't do it at all.
I might give a couple examples of series that were rebooted with a passing the torch that did work, like Extreme Ghostbusters. That was perfect.
Right, right. And I think Battlestar Galactica is a good example of that as well.
Right.
And of course, we don't want to open the door to Star Trek because we'll go completely off into a new world.
Yeah.
But anyway, I want to touch base with Star Wars before we run out of time, because I know that we're going to have some more people come in at the bottom of the hour to talk about Kickstarters and cool stuff that's coming up. So for the end of the pop culture segment here, another rumor swirling about, again, huge cupful of salt here, is that the sequel trilogy is going to be decanonized. And it's going to take place through the organic adventures of Ahsoka, played by Rosario Dawson in the live action series. And she, through the manipulations of a Temple to the Force in continuity created by Dave Filoni for the animated series spinoffs, we're going to, in essence, see a multiverse explanation for how the sequel trilogy along a certain timeline is the trilogy, but a new sequel trilogy that is truer to what we expected in terms of the behavior of Luke Skywalker is going to be developed. And not only that, but a certain blue-skinned villain. Those of you who know the Timothy Zahn novels know of a character named Admiral Thrawn, may possibly be a big part of the new sequel Star Wars trilogy. So, again, rumors, thoughts from everybody, starting with Barb. Go.
Yeah, that one's a tough one. I think it's an interesting concept.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather see him bring in Mara Jade. Tell you the truth.
Yeah, I would too. Jeremy?
I mean, the multiverse idea has been explored in Star Wars a number of times previously. I guess it's not too far out there. I mean, they had that holiday special, which basically created a whole bunch of different timelines. I guess it's possible.
It's viable.
Yeah.
Brent, what are your thoughts? Are they going to the well once too many times here, or are we still hungry for what really happened with a fully vested Jedi Knight Luke after the fall of the Empire? Do we really want to see that live action?
Here's my thoughts, and they are very fresh. I have not heard any of this. So, okay. But I think Luke is done. I think the entire Skywalker presence has been played out, and the more they invest in it, it was really cool to have him show up at the end of the second season of Mandalorian. But they were smart enough to literally get him in and get him out almost as fast.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone goes, "Oh, that's so cool!" And we wrapped up a major storyline, as if to say, "And now Mando doesn't have to wear a mask anymore, and he can do his adventures." That's great.
I think the purists would scream at because obviously we couldn't use Mark Hamill, and then I think the purists would have a problem with. But I don't know.
I think one of the things this sounds like it could lead to is the recanonization of the expanded universe.
Yes,
yeah, I was actually thinking something similar. I don't know. I think it's kind of a bad idea to go with a multiverse point of view. Instead, take those elements and somehow find a way to thread them into the current.
They've been bringing some that. I know some of the novels have been taking some elements from there and bringing into some of the stuff they've been doing. Like I said, the multiverse actually does exist in the Star Wars universe, and not just the previous extended one, but the current one Disney's creating has actually established a multiverse of sorts.
But don't forget that for comic book geeks like us, multiverse is like, it's just a multiverse. But the general audience is going to be completely lost.
Exactly. That's the thing that I think is the worst part about it is you've already got. Let's face it, Star Wars fans are the rabid dogs of pop culture-dom. I mean, can they be truly satisfied in any regard? The question,
yes.
To be no. I'm Mandalorian. Yes, thank you. But I mean, can you imagine if there hadn't been one? I mean, you could still smell the stench of Rise of Skywalker wafting over North America, and it's like, holy cow! After all this investment, this was what we got as a payoff. I mean, they were so ready for everything to move on to a new chapter. So,
I have a unique perspective in the fact that I am a total geek and hubby is not, okay? So when we go to a movie together, I'm like, oh, yeah, I get that. Oh, yeah, that's so cool. And he'll go, what just happened here? Can you explain that movie to me?
That's a great observation.
That's what I'm afraid is going to happen with the general audience. It's just going to be the purists that are going to be and everybody else is going to go right over their heads.
There's a danger to that, I think, and again, Brent speaks to this a lot in his commentary because he's a writer, and that is, if it's written extremely well, the rabid fans will buy it, and maybe some new casual viewers or new viewers will jump on it as well. But it has to be written well. It can't feel convoluted.
Convoluted. That's exactly.
That is multiverse is basically convoluted.
Exactly.
In film form, yes.
Yeah.
My husband will be lost in the first 15 minutes.
There's always some convoluted stuff going on. If you remember, before the previous Star Wars came out, they had a tie-in comic explaining how C-3PO got his arm. So unless you read that comic, you wouldn't know about it in the movie.
I remember that. There's a lot of expanded universe material that plays off of intentional and unintentional loose threads that were, already existing in the original trilogy that became 4, 5, and 6, and then the prequel trilogy. And so again, you've got a rich world that, for my part, for me, it's all about the creative leadership. If it's Favreau and Filoni handling it, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt and see what they've offered, because they've offered me some great entertainment with Mando, and I'm looking forward to Ahsoka as well. So I think we've got some good material to come, and I'm excited about it. We covered a lot of content tonight, not only about covers and what inspires us to buy a comic based on a cover. Brent, you weren't here for that, but I'd love to get your take on, we touched base on something about covers, and that is impact versus integrity. We want both. If you had to choose between one of those, you're walking in, you've got a title you love, or you got a title you've never heard of before. what's going to get your attention more, or something interesting, or something that just blows you away off the shelf? What's going to bring you in?
You know, I'm curious. I'm sad I missed that conversation because, frankly, a cover never. I've never bought a comic because of the cover. I've
Interesting.
picked up a book and thumbed through it to see if I liked the writing. I have bought several books with great stories and lousy covers. I and I can think of some very iconic covers, but what's funny is I just I realize it's a sales device that's supposed to hook readers, but for me, it's almost like it's something that I have to be careful of because there are some amazing cover artists out there that are filling in for a really lame story. So,
Good point. Can't tell a book by its cover, but you might pick up a book because of its cover. We actually discussed you'll remember these, even we don't even have to bring them up, but Carlos was kind enough to bring up the visuals as we picked them apart. But there was the Spider-Man No More cover. Do you remember that one where
we're walking away from
Spidey's
the trash can.
turned his back, and we have a very small Peter Parker, dejected, head hanging low, walking towards us, and then Spider-Man turning away in the background. And one of the most memorable covers ever. And we talked about the power of iconography of a cover, where it encapsulates the content of the book, and also is a beautiful piece of art on its own right. So that one jumped out at us, as well as Walt Simonson's classic cover of Beta Ray Bill smashing Mjolnir through the Thor title. Do you remember that one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was great.
Yeah, we covered that one as well. There's the Spidey cover. Carlos kind enough to bring that up. But
another favorite of mine is remember the Captain America annual with Cap facing off against Wolverine? I think it was Mike Zack who drew it.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't that a great cover?
Yeah,
and
fantastic.
I love that cover because I then read the story and it was actually pretty decent. I remember it pretty well. So.
And I brought up, before we went on the air, I brought up the absolute minimalist design of the black cover with the Superman logo on the front. That's all it was.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of brilliant. Actually, it was just so simplistic.
Yeah. Do you remember the 9/11 issue of Spider-Man? They did the same thing.
I do.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yes. So graphic, a graphic device that again connects with the content. I remember the Ultraverse. You'll remember this too, Barb. Remember the Black September stuff and all just the black covers, and how unique that scene. It was all cutting edge and experimental then, but those were the days of foil stamps and embossed covers and all that stuff, gold and silver and shiny, and it was fun.
Bagged editions. I have with this Planet of the Apes. I have a bagged edition #1. It's in a black bag with silver Planet of the Apes on the front printed on. And the big thing was, do you still have a bagged edition that hasn't never been opened? And it's like, yeah, I have several of them actually, but why do you want one? If you're never going to open it and read it, then why did I do all that artwork?
I think, again, we talked about this too, Brent, that using graphic devices, smashing the masthead title, doing those types of things, choosing judiciously when to do that also help, because if there's a publicity stunt with every single issue, then it becomes blasé, and kill the character off in every issue. And darn it, I'm not going to go off on the rant about.
Whoops!
Oh, he did go off.
Oh no! I'm not gonna. There we. Oh, Roland is coming on! Yay! Hey, boy, great
Yes.
timing! Great
Technical
timing.
difficulties. Please stand by.
Yeah, because Dean Zachary was like, I am not gonna go off on.
Yeah, and he went.
So what's going on, y'all?
We're talking about covers and pop culture news.
Wow, I did see some of the covers that he posted. I would, unfortunately, I was busted my butt this evening trying to get the Kickstarter ready, so I was not able to listen in. But that's a conversation I would absolutely love to hear.
Mm.
I am, of course, very opinionated when it comes to covers and logos and stuff such like that.
Yeah, too bad you couldn't have been with us tonight. That would have been
I
great.
know.
I'm assuming you just hit him, right, Roland?
Yeah, we showcased one of their covers because it was very well done. Very well done.
Nice.
Yeah, I love the art in Monstrous. Beautiful.
That's Lou, right? Marjorie Lou?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, monsters. Yes. I kept hearing you say monsters.
No, Monstrous.
Monstrous.
So
yes.
what technical problems is Dean having?
I don't know. There he is. Ask him.
Listen, I kid you not. He is upside down on my screen again.
How odd is that?
That's kind of funny, though.
So
I cannot tell you why, but you guys didn't believe me last time, so I took that screenshot.
You did?
Yes. And you saw it, right?
No. I got bumped out as soon as you jumped in. It's your operating system clashing with my operating system. That's what it is.
Let's see if I can remember how to do this. Oh, yes,
getting
I
closer,
do.
getting closer.
Getting closer.
Wow.
So
I've been watching the news because we're under a tornado watch.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was going to ask if that's what's going on with Dean here. So I just took a screenshot. Let me see if I can figure out how to get it to you guys here.
While Roland's doing that, guys, does anyone else see me upside down?
No, you're fine to me.
See
yeah, you look okay, but Jeremy looks a lot like Tommy. It's weird.
Somehow.
There he is.
Tommy.
Hi, Tommy.
Upside down.
Hi, Dean.
Hi, how are you?
Awesome.
Good.
Yeah, very good.
I think we're all stable. Even with all the people in the room, it's stabilized. I think. Someone else is popping in. Oh no, it's
Peter.
Everybody
About this.
hide. We've got a Brit.
This microphone work? No.
There he is. In the flesh. Not really.
Who said, does this microphone work?
Oh, there we go. How about that? You hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, I can know what's going on.
Okay.
Tommy, I can hear you now, buddy.
All right, very cool.
Awesome. Peter, are you muted or are you there, my friend? Are you? Oh, there he is.
No, Peter knows which of the options on his microphone list to pick. I don't, so I don't know what's going on. No, because I got so many different setups. Whenever I'm just jumping on real quick. I didn't do my whole setup, and so I just don't know which one to pick. So I'm just all right. I go. Does this one work? No. Does this one work? No. Does this one work? No.
Well, it was working tonight, guys. We were zooming through things. Roland, you still there, my friend?
I am. I have taken a screenshot, and I am going to share this doggone image so you can.
Yeah, but you took so long to show us. You could have photoshopped it and flipped it upside down. See, I could do that.
That's true.
No.
Or you could have passed it to one of us.
I can't do that.
Oh, that's true.
Send it to us.
You emailed it to me and let me flip it over and then send it back to you. And then you
I've got all of these options to share, and I have so many windows open. I can't figure out which one it is I'm trying to share. It's like I just want to share this upside down Dean image.
The upside down. I'm telling you, it's this Apple OS that's just got an allergy to Roland's OS.
You know what
I have Apple. I don't seem to have a problem.
I'm just going to make that the whole screen over there.
We're all happy.
Yeah, no, y'all are all.
Screen
Everybody's facing
2.
the right direction for me.
Oh, good. They took us off. Huh?
So well, you can see a lot of stuff there. Okay, well, I guess there's nothing there. Okay, can y'all see that?
No.
Nope.
Nope, not yet.
On your,
There we
There we
go.
go.
Studio.
I
Whoa,
see
I
something
see.
now.
Yes, I do see.
I see your
Roland
screen.
Man's
Dean is
screen.
upside down.
Dean is upside down.
Wow.
That
How'd
is
you do
really
that?
funny.
Oh man, I've got a special filter for Roland, and I just
Yeah,
mess
you're
with
sending him
I
Roland.
believe that.
It's like messing with Sasquatch. You just mess with Roland. That's what it's about.
Mhm.
I don't
That is
understand it.
very
I
weird.
haven't done anything to this at all. Everybody else is fine, but this is the second time. This is the
It's
second
so
time that
odd.
Dean was upside
It's
down,
just so odd.
from what I can see.
I don't know, man.
Dean just
Multiverse
has a
going
unique
on.
perspective.
So, kind of funny.
Yeah. So, Roland, you were going to talk to us about Kickstarters.
Yes, I need.
Yeah,
to
what is Kickstarter? Tell us. Start from the beginning.
Absolutely. So, where's my? I have too many windows open. It's been one heck of those days. I'm working on about 2.5 hours sleep last night, a class, an hour-long nap today. So,
And Pete's like, it's 3 a.m. for
I know.
me. What are you talking about?
Stop complaining.
Really?
People.
Yeah, so I do beg your apologies, Dino, because I did not get the opportunity to listen into you guys, and I know you're talking about covers and that sort of stuff, which sounds like a super cool conversation. I would love to hear, and I am going to listen to it tomorrow.
It's fun. It was fun. It was a good night. Really good time.
Good. So I don't want to repeat anything. What have you guys talked about? Have you talked about the Kickstarter at all?
No,
Mm-mm.
we're
Nope,
waiting,
we're waiting
on
for
our
you.
fearless leader.
Okay. All right. So,
Hold it
yeah.
down.
So, if you're not familiar with Kickstarter, if you're one of those very few who have not heard, who is listening to our stream and have not heard of Kickstarter at this point in time, Kickstarter is just a way for creators to raise funds to get their projects complete. It's just a way for us to say, look, we need some help. We've got some stuff that we want to do, and we want you to help. Here are some options that once you help, you can contribute some money, and you get some cool stuff. And there's a lot of cool stuff for this upcoming Kickstarter. You get some cool stuff in it, and you get some comic books, and you get to help us bring these comics to life. And so yeah. If you're one of those, I do have to add this guy. I know that our regulars are like, yeah, Roland, we know, right? But if you're one of those who, like, I've heard about Kickstarter, and I've heard about those people who pledged to, they pledged their $40, and 3 years later they don't have a comic book, and so they feel like they just wasted their money. I get it. I feel you. I've contributed to a couple of those myself, but Silverline has run 11 Kickstarters. This will be number 12, and we have fulfilled all 11 of them on time. So we hope that makes you feel confident in backing ours, knowing that you're going to get your you're going to get your stuff when we say you're going to get your stuff. So we had one hiccup along the way, and that was with about, help me out, Brent, here. That was with about 5 only. So Kayla's, I can't remember, it's number 1. What? It was number 1 or number 2 that we had the COVID hiccup.
The shipping problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
yes.
Number 1.
Yes,
Ours says
that's
number
right.
1. So we fulfilled everything for number 1, with the exception of about 5. And the reason we didn't fulfill those 5 completely on time is because they all had commissions from artist Louis Tranowski, who lives in Argentina. Well, Louis sent the package to us about the time that COVID hit and the world shut down, and we did not get that package for about 8 months, something like that.
Crazy.
Yeah, so we waited on that. Ultimately, we did get the artwork from him. Funny story, the package returned to him, his son is in California. He actually took the art with him to California one time when he went to visit his son, and he shipped the artwork to us from California, and I got it in like 3 days, right?
Yes.
And so those were then fulfilled. So that's the only hiccup that we've had along the way. So yeah, if you're concerned, well, I don't want to toss money at you guys because I don't know that I'll get it. You watched the video in the Kickstarter today. I actually put up a screenshot of a PDF that shows all the pages of both of the books. So
Wow.
hopefully not close enough that you could zoom in and read it all, right? For those of you who are want to do that, but there's just a screenshot of the PDF that just shows all of the pages there. So yeah, that's Kickstarter. Where's my clock? Somebody. So it's 9:42. So this Kickstarter, we are finally getting to do Silverline Team Up featuring Champion and Miss Fury. And yeah, this is one of those.
Yes,
If you've
exciting.
been watching our stream, I put Pete on the spot yesterday, but I can't remember the answer. Pete, do you remember when you started that?
Yes.
I'm sure it was a long time ago.
Let me rephrase that. Do you remember
5 years
the calendar day?
Not the actual day. I know it was
It was last summer, wasn't it?
July last year. Yeah.
So about a year. Yeah. So and you've been drawing, or you drew much of it, not all of it, but you drew much of it during the stream. So we got to see you draw different things. We talked about we had the famous underwear discussion.
Yeah. Yes.
So you've seen Pete penciling it. You saw Tommy. Tommy's like, well, underwear discussion. What?
Yeah, I get
that.
boxer briefs, that kind of thing.
No.
Underwear or no underwear? Yeah, I go no underwear. You're talking about how you sleep at night? Is that what we're talking about? Huh.
So you've seen Tommy inking on it, right? You've seen him ink a whole bunch of stuff, and you've seen Roberta coloring it. So you've watched this thing be produced from almost the very get-go. And so we're really excited to actually bring that to you. And I got to tell you, I sent you guys the PDF today, or was that last night? Probably last night. Roberta demanded that I update the PDF.
Yeah, I saw that. I hadn't had a chance to jump in there yet, but yes.
Roberta's like, the colors are done. Update the PDF now.
I know everyone wants to see it.
Yeah.
So I did update that and I sent that to you guys. So it's just a good looking book. I'm so excited about it. And of course, I got my little write up about it is essentially firefighter Dan Taylor became famous as the Chicago champion, and he's been fighting crime at the sacrifice of his personal life. When his doctor friend offers him a getaway to New Orleans, he takes it, only to discover his troubles have followed him. Meanwhile, the young Marley Hale, soon to be known as Miss Fury, gets a job in the same city. And as the fates would have it, they're bound to meet. So that's our little pitch for the Silverline Team Up, Champion and Miss Fury. And I convinced you guys, to let me put a blurb on there. And because you've heard us call him this prize, particularly Tommy, even after we decided on a title,
messed it up and I couldn't stop saying it wrong.
So we've taken that and we put that as a blurb on the cover. Carlos, if I send you something now, is that possible for you to put it up to show that?
He has been. He's been doing a great
job
tonight.
All right.
Doing that.
So I'm going to shut up a minute. So one of you guys talk about something, and I'm going to get Carlos a couple of images.
I want to interject here that Pete, you did a fantastic job on the book. I got a little preview of it because I was asked to do an alternate cover. So kudos, my friend. It's excellent and fun to draw the characters. Based on your interpretation of them. What the challenge for me, and this dovetails into our how to create compelling covers conversation earlier, was a lot of our books take place in New Orleans, and the challenge for me was when concepting this cover was, do I do another New Orleans street scene?
Yeah.
Do I do another, here's another, corner of Bourbon Street and at Royal Street, and there's the same, balconies with the same plan, all that, and it was fun because it forced me to really come up with something different that still says New Orleans, and I had a blast. It was one of the toughest creative puzzles to solve for a cover, but it was fun to do, and I can't wait for you guys to see it. But
Yeah, Dean, let me see a little bit of it. It's going to be cool.
Yeah,
It's
gonna be fun.
It's been a fun book to do, isn't it? I think we've all enjoyed doing some superhero sort of stuff.
Yeah, well, it's got a playful tone. It's got the adventure. It's got that rollicking roller coaster superhero fun. There's quips and amid the danger. And
Tell you what, it gets dark in issue 2, doesn't it, Roland?
Does it? Does it go off the deep end, Roland?
So we threw the script for issue 2. I was like, oh, it gets dark, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Roland does totally Dark Knight issue 2, right? It's like,
that's the thing, and you guys know. So as an artist, you guys get immediate reaction. You show somebody your artwork, and you get immediate reaction, right? A story, you got to kind of get someone to invest some time in that, right? So when I sent Pete the script, it was, I was like, okay, I'm waiting. I want to hear, did he like it? Did he not like it? What's his thoughts? And it comes back. His response is literally, well, that got dark. Like, okay, well, I'm like, is that good? Is that bad?
Wait. You have to draw some real emotion.
Please tell me there's nobody named Martha in there.
No. I haven't introduced Marley's mom. She could be a Martha.
Walking through the alley.
Right. Yeah. All right. So
I will be Martha.
Carlos, I sent that cover to you, so hopefully you got it. Or I put it on the strain thing. So yeah, and I thought Haley would be here. Was she here earlier? Just bailed, or
no? I haven't seen Haley tonight.
Okay.
No.
So the other project, it's a flip book, as we've been doing for, and I'll get back to Carlos and let him show that cover in just a second. But the other one is Bea #1, and it's going to be the flip side, right? You're going to see Silverline team up on one, you're going to flip it over, and then you'll see Bea on the other side. And it's a completely different kind of story. It's not really, someone the other day said it's a children's story, and it's like, I didn't really write it as a children's story, but it's certainly inspired by children's story. It was the kind of thing when I came up with the idea when my kids were young, and they were watching a lot of, watching a lot of Winnie the Pooh, Toy Story, and things like that. And so those are kind of the properties that kind of inspired it, and basically my idea was like, well, what happens in the 100-acre, because one of the things that if you're fans of Winnie the Pooh, one of the things that happens is, Pooh talks about or they say something about, how long will you live? I'll live to be 100. Well, then I'll live to be 99, right? Because there's that affection between the two, and so it's one of those things that got me thinking, well, what happens to the toys when the kid does die, or when Christopher Robin leaves, or when he grows up, or fill in the blank, what happens to all of them? And I know Toy Story did it, but it was a little bit different. And so that was kind of the impetus for Bear. And so that's how the story starts. Is basically the kid is gone, and the world the world of the Hollow kind of goes mad, and Bear is the only one who does not believe that the kid is dead. And he tells them, hey, the kid's not dead. We're moving. We're going to a new place, right? Of course, they say if you're dead, you get thrown away. And Bear is the only one who does not believe that. So it's kind of his task to stop the chaos in the hollow. So it's kind of exciting. Yeah. Okay. I see Carlos has the cover up there.
It covers
so,
up.
Yeah, and so I was able. So this is the cover for the retro version, and you see I got to work in Chant Fury on the cover in the blurb. Two of Silverline's new favorites in a tale we call Champ Fury. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Very nice.
Yay!
So what do you say? You guys ready to launch this? I got 9:52.
Go for it.
Do it.
Go for it, man.
Let me find the right window. Where's it at? Chrome. Here we go. All right. So, okay. Is everybody watching? Prepare to launch. Okay, I gotta read rules. Don't do this. Don't do that. Blah blah blah. You gotta fulfill if you reach your goal. Man, these are long. I'm not gonna read all these. I'm checking the box as if I did, though, right? Okay, here we go. We're launching now. Boom! We are live. Excellent. So,
Fireworks.
Dun, dun, dun,
Oh, I've got an
dun,
email
dun,
saying
dun.
something just launched.
it's because you got the email because you were following the project, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of
So,
course.
man, I forgot to check to see how many followers we had. The last time I checked, I saw that we had 40 followers. So 40 people
That's great.
just got a notification that we launched. And as soon as we're done here, I'm going to send an email out to everyone who is on the Silverline email list. And I'm going to attach the images that you guys sent me for commissions and the original artwork. And I'm going to say, hey, look, we're not announcing that it's live until tomorrow because tomorrow's the official live day. And hopefully that'll give them a little bit of time to get in there and get some of the artwork before the general public grabs it. One of the things that I've submitted to Kickstarter several times is I wish they would allow us to find some way to reward our frequent backers, and that I wish they would give us a very limited private launch, like 24 hours. If you've backed any of our Kickstarters, you've got a 24-hour window that you could come in and pledge before it opens up to the general public. Obviously, I haven't been influential enough to convince them to do that. But that is very much a function that I would like to see Kickstarter add to it. So, yeah. So, all right. So, any other thoughts, you guys? I'm excited. I'm super stoked about this.
I keep reminding everybody of what you said to me, Roland, the first time you contacted me.
I know.
Come on, kid, if you want to get rich. And I was like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's get rich.
Wait, Dean, you're not supposed to say yeah.
He used that line on YouTube, Pete. Same line with
I
me.
assume everyone's rich. I assume we're all rich.
Yeah, right. Works every time.
My turn.
Gets us in the door.
I just want to say that for those wondering if the Kickstarter delivers, it does deliver. I got my stuff in the mail today.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Yay.
Great. With all the cool swag, it was awesome. It was like being a kid.
Nice. I hear somebody's dog.
Someone's happy.
Someone's stomach's growling. I'm just hungry.
He's not happy.
That's my new puppy, and she's wants me to pick her up.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, show us the puppy.
I'm trying to get her to come over here. She's
Doesn't like you.
staying
Is
at
she
a
shy?
distance. Come here. I'll get her.
But yeah, so the stuff does come in. It looks great. I couldn't wait to just dig into it and read it, and it's awesome. So
Yeah.
don't
We've already
fear
got one
the
backer.
Kickstarter. Support.
We got one
Right. Woo!
Yay.
Let's go. So hopefully folks will start getting their emails because you got to remember this is kind of we're still kind of a soft launch. The only people who are aware of it is right now that we've launched are the folks who are following. Which, like I said, the last time I saw the number was about 40. You guys here, anybody listening to the stream, but I'm going to send out an email to. We've got an email list of about 400. I think it's like 430, something like that. So I'll send out an email when we're done here with the stream and let everybody know it's live, and hopefully they'll jump over and get it. So, are you watching the video, Pete?
Curtis was messaged. Curtis was the first.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's right, Curtis. Good support.
Yeah.
Roland, you should post the link here and on the team's Facebook.
I absolutely will. Yeah, absolutely will.
Okay.
But we are going to wait to make the big announcement that it's live to like all the public, right? To all of our social media.
Oh yeah.
Tomorrow, and we'll just say, hey, it's live, and so hopefully folks will show up, and we'll have a dozen backers already. So that they'll go, oh look, there's a dozen backers already. I got to jump on. Because I know a couple of people who have fussed at me. Because because we launched and they're like, hey, you said Thursday, and when I got up at 8 o'clock on Thursday and you already had like 12 backers, and I want you to tell me. And so I've messaged a couple of people saying we're about to launch here in like 15-20 minutes, so jump on. So hopefully and one of them we got a second one. I just saw the numbers move. One of them. Oh, one of them usually gets original artwork. So, yeah, yep. So,
I better dig out those pages.
Yeah,
yep.
They're around.
Okay, so
Yay.
now the exciting 17 days starts as I get the knots in my stomach, thinking, "Oh, we're gonna make it. Are we gonna make it? Are we gonna make it?" So yeah, tomorrow, you guys, the routine. Share the heck out of this. Tell everybody, make your family feel guilty.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I'll be placing my order for my Ferrari, Roland, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
The garage are waiting for the phone call, so yeah, do it.
Right.
In red.
Yeah.
We'll have Silverline down the side.
Yeah, that would look sweet, wouldn't it?
I've already ordered my Corvette Stingray.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, and I guess you do need that, Pete, since you told me it looks like your vehicle's in a bad way as well.
Yeah, it's struggling.
What happened to the Bentley?
What happened to the Bentley?
What happened to the Bentley, Pete? You just.
Well, I just had to change it in, didn't I?
Yeah, I guess so.
It gets tiring after a while being driven.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got
There's only
tired
so
of the
much
Aston
comfort
Martin.
someone can take.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually ended up my van is still sitting in the mechanics parking lot.
No.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say it's still sitting at the drive-through window.
What's that?
I thought you were going to say it's still sitting in the drive-through window.
No, we got it out of there. I pulled it. Brett was with me, so he and I pushed it out of the drive-through window and into the parking lot. And then I went back with my truck, and we pulled it to the mechanics. Then I can't afford it. I can't afford a tow truck, right? Those things are super expensive. So I got this big monster chain, and fixed it to the back of my truck, and we pulled. First time Brett had ever done that, right? You ever tried to steer a vehicle that has power steering with no power?
Oh yeah, yeah, I've done that. Yeah.
Hooked to a chain? You bet.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He did really good. There was one turn I could feel that the tires weren't turned, and I was literally. Well, other than that, he did really good. Yeah, and he after we were done, he said, "Yeah, I didn't like that." I said, "Yeah, I don't either. That's why I can't stand doing it."
Do you guys not have like roadside recovery?
Yeah, but that costs money.
Well, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and So in the States we have it, yes, but I don't have it.
Because we have it, and it costs me only a couple of £1 a month.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I have
it's
a
part of
Kia.
usually part of your car insurance. They just all pick it up. Obviously, you can have different options.
I actually think that because BJ and I were talking, and I actually think my car insurance might actually have that service.
Yeah.
I just was not aware of it.
I have a
just
Kia
never
that's
had to
got
use it.
200,000 miles coverage
Wow.
for, yeah. Woo. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Wow.
Roadside
Well,
assistance.
we just picked us up a Honda, so we have a new set of wheels. New to us. It's not a new vehicle, but it's new to us.
You're spending that Kickstarter money already, see?
Oh man.
Let's spend it before you got it.
Yeah. So send me your design for that Silverline stripe down the side. All right, we got three backers already and $73. So
almost there.
We are on the way. Dean, Barb, Brett, thank you guys for letting us crash. Roberta, Tommy, Pete, y'all got anything to add? You know what? Let me actually do say this.
You could put any of the art up.
So there's a bunch of the artwork that's actually on the Kickstarter. Obviously we don't want to show it all, but there's a bunch of artwork that's on the Kickstarter. Nice. Some of the stuff that's available is you can get a commission from Pete, and he will actually send that across the big pond so that you can get it. Let's just hope that we don't get hit by another COVID plague when that happens. You can get commission from Pete. You can get a commission from Tommy. As he does, and there are samples on the Kickstarter page.
I think Pete and I should have like a competition to see who gets the most commissions.
Well, let's see. Why don't you have a competition to see who can sell them out first?
Oh,
well, that's what I meant.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah,
because I don't think I can't remember what the numbers you guys gave me, but so Pete's got a total of 8, right? Oh. And you have a total of 6.
Well, we may have to bump mine up to 10.
And also, we are going to have Haley Martin commissions. They're not on there yet because I'm still waiting on how many exactly that Haley feels like she can do in the time frame. So as soon as we get that, we'll probably have that added tomorrow. So by the time we go live, I'm hoping that she'll check her email either tonight or in the morning. But other than that, guys, we're doing an OCD tomorrow, and then I'm, going to try to get us on as many as we possibly can. If you guys have outlets, resources for interviews, streams, that kind of thing, jump on it and let's promote the heck out of this.
Yeah.
Are we shipping globally for this one?
So here is my general consensus. The problem is calculating postal cost, and I have seen too many people talk about their Kickstarters and like, we decided we would ship globally, and we did, and we lost a lot of money. And so my general idea is this: if you want us to ship it globally. If you want us to ship it to you, if you're in Germany or if you're in England, if you're wherever you are, send me your address and we will calculate the postage for you and we will do that. So the answer is yes, but it's not a choice on the Kickstarter, if that makes sense.
I can tell you through Kablam and Indie Planet, it changes weekly. Even though they claim that it only does every now and again, it just changes.
I saw some guy today who's trying to send something to Australia. And FedEx wanted $200.
It's crazy.
Wow,
it is.
FedEx.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you got to support your mail service because I used them all the time when I was in America, and they're so much cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still changing. It's like what Roland's saying. It's really hard to say, from here to the UK somewhere, it's going to be, $12 more. And then all of a sudden, when it's time to ship it, it could be, $8 or it could be $27 because it just changes like weekly. It's crazy.
But but
I'm going to
here's
skip
something
on
that,
out. I'm going to skip on out, guys. So I'll let you guys,
Okay,
guys
Barb.
talk
Bye,
about
Same
Kickstarter.
here. I gotta
Later on,
run,
Barb.
Thank
You
you.
too, also.
Okay.
Enjoyed it.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate
All
it.
right.
Thank
Bye,
you for
guys.
letting us crash your party on Wednesday.
Bye,
No worries.
Mr. Brook. Later, bud.
Bye, guys.
So one of the things that we did talk about,
Bye.
Pete and I talked about, is that if you know Pete and you want a physical copy, we will ship your copy to Pete.
Because he has a delivery service
Yeah,
there.
it's gonna run around London.
When he and I were talking, he said, yeah, he just jumps on his bike and he's got a basket on the front and he just rides
flings
around
them out like
the
newspapers.
Kickstarter.
Flying them out. Land on your lawn.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So there is that option if you're one of Pete's pals and you want you want to support us and you want a physical copy and not just a digital. Please know that is an option. Pete has willingly offered to do that, and so that's very, very, very cool. Otherwise, it would be kind of outrageous. So.
Hey, it's a Sunday crew again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's what it looks like.
Like, some of these guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure will. Yeah.
She's probably commissioning right now.
Yeah. I don't know. I know she said but I thought that was last week that she was working some late hours. We're up to 5 backers at $182, y'all. Yeah. So we are on the way. But yeah, so I don't know if this was the week that she was working late or if I thought it was last week, but it may be this week that she's working late. So I haven't gotten a response to her yet about tomorrow night either. So, but I will. I've already got the login information from OCD, who will be the show that we're appearing on. So I'll email that to y'all. I'm actually going to a small business conference in Tampa. It's a all day long Friday thing, but BJ and I are leaving tomorrow afternoon, and so I'm going to be remote for the first time. I'll be there, but I'll be remote for the first time ever on the OCD show. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're kind of excited about that. It's just like I said, it's a small business conference in Tampa. So we're hoping there, who knows, contacts, certainly information and knowledge and for us to learn. So we're kind of looking forward to that. But we're staying in a hotel tomorrow night, so that we don't have to get up at 4 a.m. to make the drive there. So we'll just stay in Tampa and then be there for the conference Friday, and then drive back Friday night after it's done. So yeah, I will be remote tomorrow, and it'll be my first time to ever. I'll probably be on a phone for my thing tomorrow.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I'm gonna get it out now. Yeah. Yeah. You saw this. I'm sure this is dead, right? You saw where it was, though. I really only use this for conventions, right? I take this to conventions so that we can. Yeah. So I'll take that. Guys, I really don't have anything else. I just thought we'd get on here and you kind of. Yep. Yeah. I will probably reach out. Yes, I will probably reach out to you guys to write something for me, and I can help you if you need it. But I'll wait and talk about this off the air. So yeah. So, no. So I guess if you're listening to this, you have the opportunity to be one of the early backers. So please go check it out now. If you were one of the followers, you can just look at the URL for it is kickstarter.com/project/Silverline Comics /Bear1STU1, right? And that stands for Silverline Team Up. So it's a good little URL we have there. And you'll get to watch a video of me yakking, and then you'll see a whole bunch of artwork, and you'll see the tiers and all kinds of add-ons. So get over there. Shout out to our sponsors. I don't guess Dean did that before we got on. Shout out to our sponsors, History Camp, which is I think going on this week. I think it started on the 10th and will go on for the duration of the week. And to Daytona Beach Comic Con, which is coming up on September 18th and 19th. Make your plans to be there. Big Silverline contingent will be at Daytona Beach Comic Con. Lots of comic books, lots of other creators will be there as well. Let's see. Roberta, Tommy, Pete. Thank you guys for getting up for Pete for getting up on a Wednesday night, and you guys for showing up on our not our usual night. Shout out to Carlos and New Armor Media for doing the turning all the knobs and pushing all the buttons behind the scenes. We appreciate you very much, sir. This is Wednesday, so tomorrow this gang right here, and hopefully Haley will be on with OCD, Orlando Collector Deviants, as and we'll do their show from 8 to 10, and then we will be back Sunday night for Silver Sunday. And you guys know the drill. Man, I always have it upside down for the thing. So you know the drill. Until next time, remember to
Make mine Silverline.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.